On this side of the brisket, you'll notice there's quite a bit of fat. We will need to trim this to about 1/8 of an inch. If you take your knife from the thinner end and place it at an angle, and you can lift the brisket, lift it up a little bit so that you can get right underneath that fat, just like that. And just let your knife do the work. This is an 8-pound brisket. I know in the recipe I said 3 to 5 pounds. I wasn't able to find a 3 to 5 pound brisket, so I settled for an 8-pound. So regardless, it will be delicious. By the time I trim all this fat off of here, it probably will be 3 to 5 pounds. Just keep trimming the fat. Much better. I sharpened my knife a bit. You want to leave some of the fat on the meat for that good juicy flavor. You'll notice right here in this part of the brisket that there is quite a bit of fat. This fat actually goes underneath the layer of skin, and we'll try to cut some of that out. So I actually will have to cut into the meat a little bit to try to get that layer of fat out from under there. See all that fat? That's a little too much fat. I need to get a cutting board that has skids on it. Something to stabilize it. So it doesn't slide around. Nobody likes to chase their meat. By no means am I a chef. I'm just a mom who loves to cook. Although my kids are about grown now. Still have one at home. Maybe it's because I cook for him. All right, now I think we're ready to season. So we're gonna set this aside for a minute. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make a rub for our brisket. We're gonna set aside the onions, the rotel, our beer. I happen to be using Peroni. That's just what I have on hand at the moment. And we're going to be left with our dry ingredients. So what we're going to do is we're just going to combine our dry ingredients. We're going to combine our 3 cloves of garlic, our dry mustard, our cumin, our paprika, our cayenne pepper, and our brown sugar. And then we're just going to mix that together really good. We're basically forming a dry rub. Okay, our rub is nice and mixed. So we're going to set all of our bowls aside. Going to bring back our brisket. And we're going to get to rubbing. It already smells lovely. I smell that paprika and that cayenne pepper really popping. And we're going to give that a good rub. I'm going to turn it over. And then we're going to use the rest of it on this side. Sprinkle it on there and rub, rub, rub. Kind of push it in there, push it down into the meat to help it get down into the meat layers. Like I said, I'm not a chef. I don't know the correct terms for that. Right, since our brisket is nice and rubbed down, we're going to set it aside and we are ready for some slow cooker action. All right, it's time to do some slow cooking. This is my old faithful, Hamilton Beach. She's been around a while. She's served my family well over the years. However, I would like to try one of those new Wi-Fi slow cookers. If any of you have tried those, please comment down below and let us know about it. We'd like to hear how it works for you if you really enjoy it. I'm going to put a liner inside of my slow cooker. So I'll grab my onions. As you can see, that's not going to fit in there very well. I guess I could roll it and tuck it, but I'm just going to cut it in half. Okay. And since a slow cooker, the heat comes from the bottom and the sides, obviously the things in the bottom are going to cook first. So I'm going to lay the thickest piece of meat down in the bottom. I'll set that aside. I'm going to lay the thickest piece of brisket right down in the bottom on top of those onions. Already looks delish. Then I'm going to put another layer of onions in between my two slices of brisket. Okay, then I'm going to lay the other piece on top of that one. Now, that fits in there nicely. Let's open our can of Rotel. Take a spoon or something like that and kind of disperse it around evenly. Isn't that lovely? Now we're going to open our bottle of beer. Oh, looks like it got shook up a little bit. Goodness. Okay, and then we're going to pour this evenly over our brisket. Going to add a really nice flavor throughout. We're going to put our last layer of onions. I like to put the onions on last because it allows these tomatoes and the beer to get a little closer to the meat on the top side. Since you do have the onions on the bottom as well, but this still allows some of the onion flavor to get down into the meat as well, but it's not the first ingredient touching the meat. It's just a preference. You can put the onions on before you do the tomatoes if you like. Now all we're going to do is we're going to put that lid on there, and then we're going to set it to low, and we're going to let it cook for about 8 hours. It will take about 8 hours on low. If you're in a hurry, then you can set it on high and cut your time in half, about 4. It may take 5 hours. We will come back later and check on it. All right, let's take a peek, see if we're done. Looks very good. Since I cut this brisket in half, the one here on top needs to stand there a little bit longer, but the piece on the bottom, like I said, stuff on the bottom gets done first. The piece on the bottom, it feels like it's done. I'm gonna leave that other piece in there for a little while. Doesn't that look yummy? get some of these tomatoes and put them on top too. Goodness. Let's cut into this and see what it looks like. Now, you can slice it, but this brisket looks like it is so tender that it's just going to come apart very easily. So you can, like I said, you can either slice it or you can pull it apart with a couple of forks. So this one is just falling apart. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? So I think what I'm going to do with this, pull it apart. Just take a couple of forks and pull it apart like this. If you want to, you can add a little barbecue sauce to it and make barbecue sandwiches, or just eat it like this. Delish.